Are corset results permanent?
Are corset results permanent?
Are corset results permanent?
That's the number one question I get asked, as I'm sure all corset lacers get asked this question all the time. And the short answer is kind of. But you're not here for a dumb answer like that. You want to know if wearing a corset will give you a more hourglass torso, reduce your waistline, create or enhance goddess-like curves, and have permanently done so. Am I right? Like this video if I'm right. Quick PSA, I've made videos here on YouTube and on TikTok in the past that answer this question. And as I said in those videos, I'll say it again, it depends, kind of, maybe. That's the answer. The difference between those videos and this video is that I will be using other people's experiences to answer the question, are corset results permanent? As well as the knowledge I've recently gained from making these inquiries or asking a bunch of people and searching online regarding whether or not they think corset results are permanent. Alright, let's get into it. Hi, my name is Cindez. I've been wearing corsets on and off since March of 2013. My main source of initially learning about corsets and waist training came from Lucy Corsetry, as well as other corset lacers who had been wearing corsets for years. And I still do to this day refer back to Lucy's YouTube videos as well as her blog posts. I am in no way a corset expert. I merely share my experiences on this channel and do my best to answer your questions related to corsets and waist training. So we'll start by chatting about my experiences, then move on to experiences from 3 different people. 2 of them are men who wear corsets, followed by corset results that I found on Reddit, and end it with the results on Lucy Corsetry's blog. You will find that these result testimonies are very different from personal experience, gender, and lifestyle. However, they all have something in common, which is their corset results or lack thereof. And all links will be in the description box. Back in 2013, I started wearing corsets to accentuate my already hourglass or pear-shaped body. I have natural large or wide hips, which inevitably makes my waist appear smaller. But pretty much why I wanted to enhance my already kind of small waist was because of my belly. See, I'm a foodie, and like many of you, I enjoy a mom and pop shop pizza now and again, maybe a delectable slice of cheesecake on holidays, and weekend date night with bae. Okay, you get the idea, I love to eat. Now, when your belly protrudes, or you have love handles, your waist may look bigger because the focus is kind of brought down rather than swooped up. So back in 2013, I was dieting and exercising, but I still had a pudge. And rather than eat chicken and broccoli for the next 3 years, I knew there had to be something else. Enter corsets. I wore corsets for a couple of months, documenting my journey, and cinched down between 4 and 6 inches over the span of about 3 months. Which, is not always the case for everyone, but I was fortunate, especially since I had very little muscle on my torso and lots of squish. Anyways, after those 3 months, I started noticing changes, such as I had less bloating after I ate. I always bloated no matter what I ate. I was not as constipated as I usually was. I went from every 3 to 4 days to every day or every other day. I had better posture even without my corset on. My tummy looked much more flatter, even hours after not putting it back on. And I noticed my already natural hourglassy torso looked more prominent and noticeable, even when I was not wearing my corset. Please note that I was also in my early 20s and about 30 to 40 pounds lighter. Now, if you were paying attention in the beginning of this video, I said I had been wearing my corset on and off, meaning I wore corsets for a few years and then stopped wearing them, then started back up again, and so on and so forth. 2019 to 2020 is the most nearest date at which I did not wear my corset at all. And instead, I ate like there was no tomorrow. I indulged because the world was ending and YOLO. So after I gained about 15 to 20 pounds and realized the world was in fact not ending and that I was gonna be able to go out in public again very soon, I was like, oh shit, what did I do? Look, we all grieve 2020 in our own way, stop judging me. Now, because I was not wearing my corset, I lost my results, meaning I was bloated all the time, I would get constipated, which you could probably argue that it was the food I was eating, but I digress. I actually still had pretty decent posture, which is pretty cool, but my natural hourglassy torso looked less prominent because my belly bloat and all the fat I had gained on my belly. Again, I still had a small waist compared to my naturally large, wide hips. I gained most of my weight on my hips due to genetics and body composition. But again, it was just not as cute as when I was wearing corsets. Some results may be permanent, like my posture, but other results like bloating and tummy flatness completely left the building. I also want to quickly add that I've had x-rays, MRIs, and ultrasounds done on my torso for various health reasons, and I've never had a doctor or a technician tell me anything was off about my ribs or organs. Okay, yes, maybe my kidney might have been 3 centimeters off to the left rather than centered, but organs are movable body parts, and my doctor had literally no concern. I'm just throwing that out there. So just like with diet and exercise, if you stop, your results also stop. You may lose or gain weight, your muscles may atrophy or get smaller, your tummy could start to bloat from foods you start or stop eating, your bathroom regularities could change. What I'm trying to get at is nothing in life is permanent. The only permanent thing in life is change. So if you're like, well, screw that, then why am I gonna wear corsets? They don't yield permanent results. Name one thing in life that yields or gives you permanent results. I'll wait. All right, so what about when you do put on a corset and you're wearing it and then you take it off? How long until your body expands back to normal? And the answer is, it depends. It depends on your squish factor, how much fat or muscle you have on your torso, how long or how tight you wore your corset for, whether or not you're also training your floating ribs. There's no one size fits all. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. So why do I continue to wear corsets knowing that the results are not going to be 100% permanent? I mean, I could ask a gym rat the same thing. Why do you keep exercising if the results aren't permanent? You're going to have to go to the gym the rest of your life. You're going to have to eat protein the rest of your life. Why continue to do so? I hope you get where I'm going with that. But if you're not, I love how wearing corsets completely take away my bloating. I love how flat my tummy gets after I've worn my corset and take it off. I love that it improves my diet and what I eat. I love that it helps me lose weight because it improves my food choices. And I also love that even if semi-permanently, it helps reduce my natural waistline. Now, I want to share 3 people's experiences, 2 of them which are men, because on my YouTube channel, I always get asked whether or not corsets would benefit men, so I feel like having men's perspectives would be great for this. Please go follow them on Instagram. And by the way, I'll be sharing screenshots, which you can pause this video to read on your own, but I'll also be reading them for your convenience. Okay, so first off, we have Jan. His Instagram handle is TQ33. I asked him, hey, have you noticed any permanent waist reduction results from corset training? I've been seeing a lot of people say that they're not permanent results, people who wear corsets. They say that after they take their corset off, their waist expands back to normal again. So I just wanted to know your thoughts if you don't mind. And he responded, of course I don't mind. I can see some temporary reduction after taking corset or waist trainer off, but the permanent reduction is mainly me being consistent with workouts and how I eat. To have a permanent waist reduction by corseting, I would need to go 24/7 with a long model molding, my floating ribs, but I'm not really that dedicated. I have a life too. The effect I see is that I have gotten more flexible in the waist area, making it easier to lace tighter, even if my natural relaxed waist measurement is the same. I wear corsets and waist trainers to support my back and to maintain waist size, maybe reduce natural waist a bit. And of course, I love the feeling, the corset hug. I also try to build my back and shoulders to make the waist look smaller, getting the V shape in my corset fitness journey. I mean, after a man takes his corset off, I thought his body would go back to an hourglass shape, but based on your body type and the V shape is only accentuated. Maybe it has something to do with bone structure than molding via corset. He responds, I think I'd have to wear it much longer to get the shape to stay a while after removing. Maybe 24/7 would help. Bone structure is probably the most likely though, and it takes years of 24/7 to mold those ribs into a more permanent shape too. I hope this is clearing some things up for you as well. All right, let's move on to Will. His IG handle is at Will171091. So I asked Will, so you wore corsets since you were 12 years old, so a total of about 20 years wearing corsets. But for the last 5 years, you've been more consistent wearing them. I just wanted to make sure that I understood him correctly. And he said, correct. And I said, have you noticed any waist reduction while wearing? And he noticed about 2 inches of a waist reduction. And I said, do you wear corsets for waist training or mainly posture, confidence, and anxiety? Because those are the things that he mentioned, but I don't think I have it here in the screenshot. Waist training, and it helps him sleep. I always wear to bed else he doesn't sleep well. Waist training and support. So based on these two male experiences, I hope you've had a good takeaway from that if you're a man and you're interested in wearing corsets. So go follow them on Instagram and let them know I sent you. Okay, last person is Ophelia. She answered on YouTube. She doesn't have any social media, so I'm not going to be giving anything out, but I will share her experience. I did it for over 12 years since a teen. I remember that I had a pretty rectangle shape as a 14, 15-year-old because I naturally have a short torso with long legs. I wanted to get the hourglass shape because it's such a nice classic feminine look. I told my mom I wanted to have a better figure since she used shapewear with boning in it. After using silicone shapewear for workouts and then every day, I started looking into proper corsets. It was then that the results began to show. The more time I used it, the more I was able to cinch, the more comfortable I got going tighter for longer. By age 19, I had transitioned over to tight lacing, and I was able to cinch 6 inches, wearing my corset like 5 times a week. I was never skinny, and my frame didn't give me much room between my hips/ribs for a good waist. Corset training really did so much for my body. Whenever I didn't wear my corset, I could see that my body had the hourglass shape on its own. That really gave me the motivation to keep doing it, and all the different pretty corsets were a plus, obviously. I went through different stages of gaining and losing weight over the years, and I began to get into the kink scene at 19, 20 years old. The corset thing is big in that community, so I kept going. Even if I gained weight, my ability to remain consistent tightening my waist was good. I never found out how many total inches I went for after 8 inches because I focused on making the shape I wanted, not the numbers. I did it consistently for 12 years and my body had retained the hourglass shape I set out to get. Now in my mid-30s, I just started going back to wearing one like 2 months ago. Right off the bat, I could feel my body adjust quickly to the boning of my last corset, just not so tight. I'd like to get back to going beyond 6 inches comfortably, but I'm taking it slow. I've personally never liked going super small, but I do like to exaggerate my waist for BDSM scenes. I'm so glad I started really young because my body was able to mold itself, and I know what to expect moving forward. All 3 of these people had such different but amazing results, and I hope you can learn something from them too. Now I'm going to read some things that are on Reddit, but before we do that, I am in no way taking any of these photos or quotes as my own. That's why I'm leaving their username shown to give credit. I've reached out to some of them asking them if they wanted to give their current profiles, as many of the Reddit profiles are either really, really old or since deleted. But not everyone responded or they responded too late. So I will not be giving out anybody's current social profiles or usernames or anything like that because I'm just not gonna. If you want to do some stalking on your own, that's your prerogative. But I'm just, that. Okay, let's get into this. Is waist training permanent or can it be? I'm already naturally curvy, so I was thinking maybe waist training for a bit could help my curves look even better, but I'm curious if it would actually keep lasting results. Nobody better to ask than this sub, thanks. All right, so the first response is generally no. Corsets make your waist slimmer while you're wearing them. With dedicated waist training near constant wear, big reduction, some changes may be permanent, but generally all changes disappear in minutes or hours after taking the corset off. The next answer was, wait, so you can't wear it and train your waist and then go out for a night without it? And the response was, unfortunately, no. Changes are not permanent, only when you're wearing the device. And there are 2 other responses to this question. I have been following waist training groups and subs for years and it's not permanent. Once you close your corset and get the desired figure, you still have to wear it for upkeep. If done with a real corset, it can last a few days or a few months. Depends on your body and how long you've been training. Here's a link from the beginner's guide, but the natural waist reduction is nowhere near your corset reduction. Just keep that in mind. If you use the stretchy waist shapers, then it only works when you wear it, no long-term results. Okay, the next question from Reddit. Are the results of corset training permanent? Hi, I started waist training in June. When I removed my corset, I noticed more and more decreasing in my waist size, had to buy smaller sizes. Are these results permanent? If not, how long do they usually last? How quick do they go? If they partly go away, is it the same amount of time or faster to get back to the size? Okay, so here are the answers. They are permanent since the corset works on moving your loose ribs, the last 2 ones in the rib case, the floating ribs. It can take years for a corset to really make that change permanently. It will change first in your subcutaneous tissue, body fat, and then start working on the ribs. Obviously, you won't feel any pain and you shouldn't. So take it slow and go closing it a little bit more tight each week. The changing you see in your body, it's the subcutaneous tissue that has already been molded. I waist trained in 2020 for a short time, and I had some results in the way my waist looked, especially from behind. Unfortunately, gained some weight and couldn't use the same corset anymore. I still have some waist after that. So don't buy another corset when the one you have totally closed. Just keep using it until it starts becoming a little loose on your body. When it happens, it means it's time to buy a new one. Are these results permanent? It depends on your habits. If you take care of your weight, you can have these results permanently. If you don't, ... The results can be permanent, but it really depends on a lot of different factors. For muscle/fat, I'm going to say probably not. This tissue is easily moved and molded. It's soft and pliable. If you stop wearing a corset for a long period of time, it's possible for them to move back, or at least that's what happened to me. Also, weight fluctuations, exercise, pregnancy, etc. can undo waist training progress. For the floating ribs, they are a lot less pliable, so they take longer to train down, and they will stay trained longer. But whether or not they are permanently altered depends on your connective tissues and how dedicated you are to corsetry. Altering your floating ribs takes years of dedicated waist training, and once you stop, they very well may return to the normal position. Generally speaking, the more readily it moves, the less likely it is to stay there. Fat will redistribute more quickly, and then muscle, then bones and cartilage. Too long didn't read? It can a little, just depends on you. So I know these answers may sound a little bit of the same thing, just reiterated, but if you're listening closely, you can get a little bit of a different answer from each person. And the way each person explains it or describes the results or lack thereof is very interesting. Okay, I'm gonna read you a question found on Reddit. Are waist training results permanent? So I know nothing is permanent, but are the results there to stay short term when the garment is off? This is only true for steel-boned laced corsets, correct? I've heard mixed things. Not sure if training to tolerate increasing amounts of distortion or rearranging internal anatomy. Anyone did research and know? I'm not from the community, but I'm interested. Alrighty, so here are the answers to that question, which again, it's kind of the same question everybody's asking, but again, listen to the responses because they are a bit different. First answer is, there's a huge difference between waist trainers and stretchy material, even if you stacked them. Corsets are made for waist training, as in literally pushing the floating ribs you have inwards and holding them at that position for many hours. Corsets don't put any pressure on the hips or upper ribs, just your waist, and you feel a sort of hugging in your lower back when it's on. Think of it as braces, but for your floating ribs. Braces when off will sometimes cause teeth to move back in place. Same with corsets, but it depends on the person. Some who get permanent changes to their waist, but they will still wear corsets on occasion to maintain it. Think of it as retainers. I feel like my teeth and rib movement should be similar, and I know for sure my teeth do move throughout the day without my retainer on, so I imagine that's how with my floating ribs. Elastic material, all they do is make you sweat out water weight, and stacking them would be incredibly dangerous with high temp and circulation could become cut off. How amazing was that response in comparison to braces and retainers? I'm gonna steal that and start using that. That's brilliant, to say the least. Oh, I should also mention that you won't find many real studies on corsets, as there's not a huge market, so no one is spending money for a study on that. First-hand experience is the only thing you can really base this on. Lucy Corsetry on YouTube is good too, and the tight lacing sub I mentioned earlier. There's a lot of really wrong info out there as well. No amount of waist training will ever make the results permanent, unfortunately. I've been waist training for almost 7 years. If I quit wearing my corset for a few weeks, my body goes right back to normal. I think a small waist is done by lipo. How else can you get that if you're not built that way? By waist training with a corset, but results are temporary. This one is someone who actually had permanent results or changes to their waist. So the question reads, do corsets actually shape my natural waist? I don't like my waist to hip ratio, so is it possible to change it by wearing a corset, or do I have to undergo surgery? And the response reads, real corsets can shape your waist as long as you're patient and consistent. My natural body shape is a ruler, and I've taken off inches off from waist training. You can scroll down my page to see my results. The only thing is that semi-permanent, so you need to keep wearing it to maintain results. I've been wearing it somewhat consistently since March and noticed a subtle shaping happening in about 2 weeks of wearing it for about 10 hours a day. I saw a more defined curve by upping my daily hours to 15 to 20 around October. I like to keep my waist training results longer, so I always work out. I don't follow a strict diet. 2.5 inches came off my waist from the workouts and another 2.5 inches from just waist training 15 plus hours for less than a month. Some people don't need to wear it as long as me to get results though. Sleeping in it is a good option if you need the mobility throughout the day. Great response, am I right? Let's hear someone else. You wear it even when exercising. Aren't you worried about muscle atrophy? Now, I know this doesn't really have anything to do with corset results being permanent, but I thought it would be interesting to throw in something like this because so many people talk about muscle atrophy or torso weakening due to wearing corsets. Here is the response to that question. If your corset fits properly, it should not prevent you from using your abdominal muscles, so atrophy shouldn't be too much of a concern. This may be anecdotal, but when I wear a corset, which is every day for me also, I find that the upright posture recruits the use of my abdominal muscles more than when I go without a corset. Muscle atrophy only happens if you rely on the corset to support your posture and slouch while you're wearing it. But if you're worried about muscle atrophy, then you can just add some abdominal exercises to your daily routine to negate that risk. Like I've mentioned in so many videos, it's so important to still work your core and strengthen your abdominal muscles and or core so that you don't feel fatigue or you don't see muscle atrophy after you take off your corset. All right, let's continue with the initial question, which was, do corsets actually shape my natural waist? I started with a 36 natural waist about a month ago. 28-inch corset that took me about 2 weeks to close, wearing it 12 hours a day. I am now about 33 to 32 natural depending on fluid retention, and the results persist at least 24 hours. I haven't stopped long enough to see otherwise. My corset has a conical top that covers my ribs, and I think that helped immensely. To be honest, I'm probably going to be in a corset until I'm old AF though, because I love them, even though they can be so incredibly cumbersome. Facts. That's why I'm like sitting like this. I have to sit up straight, but I'm also looking down. My ankle is up, you can't see, but I'm in a very weird, kind of uncomfortable position. Corsets can absolutely change the shape of your natural waist, but the caveat is that the results are temporary and they're subtle. So your uncorseted waist will never be as dramatic as your corseted waist. Generally speaking, your uncorseted waist will be about 4 to 7 inches larger than your corseted waist, depending on your body composition. The downside is that, like I said, the results are pretty subtle compared to the corset itself, and it takes time to achieve these results outside the corset. The really, really good news is that you don't have to wait for shape. When you put the corset on, you will have a fabulous hourglass instantly. So even if it takes time for you to notice waist training results, you get to enjoy your corseted figure in the meantime. When you wear a corset, you should notice your body getting squishier over the first week or two as you close the corset. Then some people say they start to notice results after a couple of weeks, some say after a couple of months. Usually the first results you'll notice will be a slight reduction, maybe an inch or two, after you take the corset off. But this fades away overnight. As you continue to wear your corset consistently, you'll find that the results last a little longer. Eventually, some people will get to the point that their results last days or weeks, although without maintenance, the results will fade. You do not have to get surgery for this to work, and you don't have to diet. Keep in mind, if someone ever tells you that something will make you lose weight, but only if you diet, then it's the diet that causes the changes, not whatever they're trying to sell you. A corset will not make you lose weight, but it can help to temporarily alter the shape of your body. If you want to pair your corset with some lifestyle changes, you will probably see changes a little faster and a little more profound. But also keep in mind that a corset achieves a different function than weight loss. If you lose weight, you'll get smaller and leaner, but not necessarily more curvy. The corset will make you curvier whether you want to lose weight or not. I hope you are still here with me because all of these answers, like I've been mentioning over and over again, they're all the same, but they kind of give you little tidbits of different experiences and responses. Stay with me, we're almost done. Last one, I promise. Unforeseen or disappointing results with corsets waist training. Personal experience. Hoping someone can provide personal experience or specific answers in regard to my question. I'm aiming to buy a corset for waist training and slight body mod purposes to achieve a more hourglass figure. Also to help flatten my lower tummy more. The links in the About page are helpful as a starting place. Background. I was overweight last year with a sedentary life, poor diet, and doughy body. So starting this year, I began keto, IF, cardio, and body weight training to get in shape. I lost 40 pounds and 4 inches off my waist. I was very happy I could start seeing my abs. I didn't even need to reach my goal weight, and now I look more athletic and average. But to my depressing surprise, I discovered that I had lost some of my ample bust in the process. I was so focused on my waist and getting in shape that I didn't realize potential consequences I would encounter once I reached my goal or throughout my journey. Now, I want to avoid making the similar mistake with this venture. While I'm happy with my body results from being more active and doing workouts, I really want to get more of an hourglass shape. Question: have any of you found personal experience with a negative unexpected results with corsetry/waist training with a corset that fit perfect and while doing everything you were supposed to do? What's something that surprised you once you were close to reaching your goal that made you recalibrate your efforts? For reference, I'm 5'5", bust is 36.5, waist is 29, hips are 37. Currently more rectangle shape but wanting an hourglass figure. Thanks in advance, the threads have been so helpful. Just to clarify, I'm starting waist training for body shaping purposes, not to lose more weight. I have an active lifestyle and just want to add corsetry to work towards a more hourglass figure. And here's the last answer to that question, which kind of summarizes everything we've learned today, and it takes us into the next topic. So stay right there. Just a friendly reminder, your corset will give you an hourglass figure while you're in it. 90% of the benefits of your corset will only apply while you're wearing it. When you take off your corset, your body will spring back to its natural form. After weeks of wearing consistently for at a minimum reduction of 4 inches, you might notice that your waist is nipped subtly before putting your corset on. With long-term muscle/rib training, you can achieve mild, but noticeable to you, semi-permanent results. These results will fade with time if you do not continue to wear your corset regularly. A corset will dramatically change your shape while you wear it, but results outside the corset are unlikely to be noticeable to others, especially under clothes. That said, once you start to notice changes in your body, you'll find a small change can make a big difference. This is when the emotional benefits come in. I remember early on, I used to take off my corset and get so excited to see my curvy figure in the mirror. Hell, just being in the corset made me happier to look in the mirror. I found that the effect stuck around even when the waist sprung back. That said, let this be the takeaway. A corset can dramatically change your figure and provide you with other benefits. But if you're only wearing it for looking for shaping benefits while you're not wearing it, then you're chasing a dragon and likely to wind up dissatisfied once again. Lucy has a page of before and after photos of waist training. If you'll notice, most people did make gains, but most of them are pretty subtle. Some of them also lost a significant amount of weight, which kind of makes them irrelevant, as their change in shape doesn't necessarily reflect the corset efforts. Let me just point out, while subtle, these benefits pictured are pretty much best case scenario outcomes, as these photos have been sorted through to find the most impressive ones, and as such, these photos represent only the most favorable outcomes. I hope after all that, you are starting to see and notice a pattern here with regard to corset results being permanent or not. Now we're going to quickly move on to Lucy Corsetry's blog post where she shows the photos that this person was talking about. I'm going to quickly go through the photos. If you want to read the article, the link will be in the description box. I hope this video answers your question. Corsets do yield results. However, results are temporary and maintenance is 100% required.